What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I want to address a few questions, so answer a few questions today, more about Colombia today. We're going to take a day off from the crazy world of Washington, D.C. and all the different things that are going on. I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Colombia today. So I've had some people in the comment section. They have asked me about different things in Colombia. How much is an apartment in Colombia? How much is the cost of living in Colombia? And the infrastructure. How is the infrastructure in Colombia? Well, as you can see, I'm in a pretty nice neighborhood. Now, not all the neighborhoods are this way. It's just like in the U.S. where you'll have nice neighborhoods. You'll have some neighborhoods that they're not nice. Let's just face it. This happens to be, I would say, middle class to upper middle class neighborhood. High-rise buildings everywhere. Let me show you guys. And this is not like a downtown area. This is more of a residential. You do have some other areas that are more like a downtown feel, where you have a lot of high-rises. But what I really like about this place here is, and I'm staying in an Airbnb, there's a park in the middle. And you see this park here, and very modern. As you can see, very well kept. It's kind of interesting. I was looking down at the ground and I saw this earlier this morning. I don't know if that's cotton. I don't know what that is, but it was in the air. So it's coming off one of the trees. And so if any of you guys know what that is, let me know. If you can see, it's like little, it looks like cotton. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's kind of weird. All right. So anyway, let's get back to what I want to talk about. So when it comes to the infrastructure in Colombia, they do have good infrastructure, okay? And it depends on where you are. But if you're in a lower income area, the infrastructure might not be as good, but for the most part, you have good infrastructure. Now, when it comes to the cost of living, I don't live here, so I can't really give you a good information when it comes to that. All I can do is tell you there are plenty of videos out there that talk about the cost of living in Colombia. And if I can find a few, I'll link them to this video so you guys can check them out. I'll have it at the very end where I have the comments. I'll put a link in there and you can find out what the cost of living. But I do have friends that live out here, and they have told me basically for a middle class, upper middle class neighborhood, just like the one I showed you, you're probably paying anywhere from $300 to $400 a month for rent. And then when it comes to your utilities tend to be a little bit less than the US. And we're talking about cell phone service and all that. It tends to be a little bit less. Claro is probably the biggest cable provider and phone provider in Colombia. And so that's, I would say, generally between $40 and $50 a month. And then you have your other utilities, your gas, your electric, and all that. Like I said, I don't live here, so I can't give you an honest input when it comes to exactly how much you would be paying for all of those different things. But I will tell you, if you, let's say you're living on $1,500 a month, let's say you're receiving Social Security, you're receiving some type of a pension, and you get about $1,500 a month, you can live comfortably in Colombia in a middle-class neighborhood for $1,500 a month. And so it's a little bit of a change of a lifestyle, but I'm telling you, for a lot of people it works. And what some people do is they'll stay here 6 months out of the year, then they'll go back to the US for 6 months, and then they'll come back for another 6 months, and they'll go back to the US for 6 months. That way you don't have to worry about getting any type of visa in Colombia. You can just stay here. You get a 90-day visa as soon as you get here. You don't have to fill out any paperwork or anything. You get the 90-day visa automatically, and then they can extend it for another 90 days, so you can stay 6 months. And so that's what a lot of people do. They do the 6 months here, they go home for 6 months, do 6 months here, go home for 6 months. So it's a little bit different living here, and depends on where you are. I'm in Barranquilla, Colombia right now. Now it's very quiet compared to some of the other cities that I've stayed in. I've stayed in Medellin. It's pretty noisy in Medellin. Wherever you are, I was in La 70, which is kind of a more local area. It was noisy there. I was, of course, in El Poblado, which is the larger, more popular destination for a lot of people, especially people from the US. It was noisy there. So pretty much everywhere. I've been in Sabaneta, which is a smaller, even smaller town, and it was noisy there. So it's pretty noisy when it comes to Medellin. Bogota, kind of the same. I've stayed in Bogota a few different times, and I've kind of gotten the same. It's been about the same as Medellin and Cartagena. I've stayed in Cartagena, and it's pretty noisy there. Even Riohacha is noisy. And when I say noisy, this is something about Colombia that you have to get used to. They don't do things the way that we do things in the U.S. when it comes to just people will turn their music loud, okay? And they'll have a party, and there's no ordinances or anything like that I know of where you have police coming out and telling them, hey, you need to turn the radio down and that kind of stuff. So people will freely have their music playing and stuff, and it's all in good fun. And a lot of times they want you to come to the party. It's like they'll have music playing just because they're trying to draw you in so you can come in and have a drink and that. So it's all in good fun, but you do need to be aware of that. That will happen. The time frames, like there's kind of an unwritten rule in the U.S. that construction doesn't get started until around 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. In Colombia, you can have construction going on at 3 in the morning, and that's not a problem. So you have to kind of be comfortable with those type things. Shower head, this is something else that's kind of new to me. This is the first trip where I've really experienced this. I've been to Colombia, this is like my 8th trip, and I've never really had this before, but they had a shower head in the shower, but it's not attached. And I was talking to my friend who lives in Colombia, and she happened to be staying with me when I saw this, and she was like, yeah, that's very common because the water pressure will just blow that shower head right off. And I'm thinking, I don't know, in the US we have good water pressure, but we still have our shower heads attached. So a lot of situations you'll go into a shower and there's no shower head, or there'll be a shower head there but it's not attached. So just little things to be aware of. It's not a big deal to me, like a shower head or no shower head. It's not that big of a deal, but just things that you want to be aware of when you come to Colombia. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about food, because people have been asking me about how much is food. If you go to a restaurant, how much are you going to pay? And it depends, but for the most part, it's going to be at least half the price that you pay in the US. And in many cases, it's going to be like 25% of what you pay in the US. So if I sit down at a restaurant, and in the US, let's say I sit down and I want to have some fried fish, which I love in Colombia. Fried fish, coconut rice is the best. You have to be on the coastal region to get that, but it's really, really good. So if I sit down for a meal like that in the US, it's probably going to be about anywhere from $15 to $20. In Colombia, you're probably paying anywhere from $8 to $10, and that's for the whole meal. That's including a drink and everything. I had some Middle Eastern food a few days ago. I sat down, I ate a shawarma and some French fries, like an appetizer French fries, and then I got a shawarma to go, and that total bill, and a drink, that total bill was $12. And so 2 shawarmas, some French fries that had like garlic sauce and stuff all over the top, and that whole bill was $12. That's very, very good. I mean, you're talking about a meal for 2 for $12. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what you'd be paying in Colombia for meals. Now it depends too. It depends on where you are. I happen to be in an area that is upper middle class, so I'm going to be paying a little bit more. You can go into some other areas that are less touristy, and you're going to pay less. So like I was saying, it could be 25% of what you would pay in the US for a meal. If you were in some of these other areas that are, let's say, lower middle class or working class communities, it's going to be less. If it's not near a tourist area, it's going to be less. Like I'm in this upper middle class area. There's a Malecón right up the street, which is a very big tourist area. And so the prices are going to be a little bit more expensive for food and for pretty much everything. So just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of what's going on in Colombia, what I'm doing in Colombia, and how much things cost in Colombia. If you guys have any other questions, please post them down below. We'll be back with the regular content tomorrow, so please tune in. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.